So you've been what's been about 23 years?
Been a long time, Dave.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It really
Mhm.
has. And then, of course, Joe went out and fooled Duck into thinking he was going out to lunch and brought him by the studio. And we had been wanting to get Duck on. And he came in and did the show, and he's been hooked ever since. He
Yeah,
loves
it's
doing the show now.
been about 20 years now,
Yeah.
probably somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
Long time.
And it
Somebody
goes
asked me the
well.
other day how long me and Joe had been doing it, and I said, Joe had been a couple of years before me, and I said it's been probably 20 years for me. I said,
Yeah, we're
just
going on, I think, 23 years, if I'm not mistaken, for the show.
and
they
Dave, we've
and
seen a
they
lot
told
of,
me it would never last.
and we've seen a lot of changes, ain't we?
Yeah, we have. We have seen a lot of changes, and probably we'll see more changes in the future. That's the only constant in radio, and that's change.
I
Yes.
got you.
So that's always going to happen, and it does. If you got a question for Joe or for Duck, all you got to do is call in. Val will take your call, get you set up, put you in the system, and we'll talk to you live here on the air. 501 uh, 501 401 I'm still not used to saying the different number.
Now, somebody asked me today what the telephone was, and I spouted off the old number, and
Yeah.
they said, no, that number. Oh, wait a minute, we changed that number.
Yeah.
Then I had to sit down there and think a minute what it was. So
And they told me, yeah, we got it finally changed. That had been what we wanted from the very beginning. And it's been 11 years now.
Mhm.
And they changed it. And now
can't remember.
it's hard for me to remember the new number
Yeah.
and instead of the old number. So anyway,
And if you got a question, you can email the place here. If you got a question, don't want to call in, you can email it to us.
you want Val Salem? Is that what it is? Okay. Send it to Val at Salem, Salem LR, SALEMLR.com. And it'll get to her and she'll get it over to me. I guarantee you we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And give us a call and we'll work with you on whatever your problem is. A lot of people are now back from vacation.
School started yesterday.
I'm not used to them starting school early in August.
I can remember when we went to school, we never went back to after Labor Day.
Yeah, it was always the week after Labor Day.
It was always the Tuesday after Labor Day. We had to go back to school.
Yeah, and everybody, you put skull and crossbones on your calendar on that day, so you knew when you were going to be back at school. But yeah, I mean, anymore it's just like they start way early.
Well, like last year, Benton had, we had all that ice and snow and sleet and everything. So they was out, I think, about 7 or 8 days, and Hardy up at Highland School District, they was out almost 3 weeks.
Really?
Yeah, because they run on all the gravel roads and stuff, picking kids up.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Gravel don't come off near as easy as does off the asphalt.
All right. So keep that in mind. I know a lot of parents that are happy that school's back in session.
Oh yeah.
Kids are
Joe
at the
is too,
house.
ain't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Joe has been watching his grandkids, and so they're back to
Wait a
school
minute,
now,
Dave.
huh?
They've been watching Joe.
Oh, they've been watching him so they can figure out when they can do what they want to do.
Exactly.
All right.
Pretty much.
It's like a resort out there at your house for them. They love that stuff.
Well, I don't know about a resort, but they sure can occupy a person's time. You get 3 or 4 of them together, and
They're always, one of them's hungry.
oh, absolutely. 2 12-year-olds, a 13-year-old, and a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's amazing. I didn't know they were that old now.
Yep.
I remember they were coming over to your place and they were 3 and 4 years old.
Me too.
That's like my granddaughter. She's 23 now.
Wow.
And it seemed like just yesterday she was sitting in
Yeah.
a deer stand with me,
That's what I was saying.
laying in the
that's
floor asleep,
I remember you talking about that on the air,
Mhm.
about her going deer hunting.
crawl up in the front of the heater and lay down and go to sleep, and
Yeah, she was hunting in her dreams.
oh yeah. Yeah,
What she's doing.
if I told her I was going, she was sitting on the Polaris ready to go when I walked out the door. I'm ready. I got my stuff. but it was great. She took her little game, played her little game. I put the windows up a little bit higher than normal, so she could sit on the floor and play her game, move around. And as long as she didn't do no beating and banging, she was all right. But she always was pretty quiet. And then she'd take my hunting coat and roll it up and get in front of the heater and go to sleep.
Well, you miss those days now.
Oh yeah,
You
we had been her at good times.
Yep.
She took at one time there was coloring books in the stand, colors in the stand, and she'd sit down on the floor and color, and then look up at me and point, want me to look at what she was coloring. But me and her always had a good time.
All right, so let me ask this question, general question, just to get us started going today here on the Dave Elswick Show for the Car and Truck Doctors. 23 years you've been on the radio with me, Joe, and Duck about 21 years. What's the biggest changes over that time that you've seen in your industry?
Well, the electronics in automobiles is the first thing.
Yes.
Yes, you call it security systems, the infotainment systems, GPSs and the satellites, the way everything hooks up. Before you'd have, in the beginning, the car would have a GPS, you'd have to put a disc in it for your area, whatever. Now it goes through your phone,
Right.
And now it updates automatically. Everything is, like I get in my truck and, in the morning I got in it and they'd come in and updated all my maps and everything. So, it gets updated pretty regular.
Well, they do a better job than they do on your phone, don't they? They never fails.
No.
They go and update my
No.
phone and they change where all my apps are at.
They do that on your vehicles too.
Do they really?
Yep. They'll move stuff around where then you got to sit there and look at it to figure out how to get it turned back on. But that's the biggest thing is all the electronic stuff and all the DPF stuff on diesels and is the biggest hurdle that we've had to cross, over the last 4, 5, 6 years, trying to figure out, when you got this code, this is what's going on with it. A lot of times on the exhaust, it'll throw you up a code, but that code don't mean nothing when you're working on it because that's just telling you that it's took it out of operation and it's not working no more. It's not going into automatic regen. And then you got to sit down and figure out, you got to look at all the information, go in, look at the filters and see how much of the filter is clogged up and stuff. It's just stuff that it takes time, don't it, Joe?
Well, yeah, it does. Diagnostics are a lot different than they used to be. There was a time when you were in the bay diagnosing stuff. In today's world, a lot of times you're out road testing with scanners and the test equipment on it to try and duplicate the customer complaint so you can get an accurate diagnosis. And, folks, when you bring them in, the best thing to do is just give us all the information we can take in. And some of the questions we ask may seem like dumb to you. Like we might ask you, what was temperature that day that this happened?
Exactly.
We might ask you, was it raining that day? These things are important because it helps us. And the quicker we can diagnose it, the more money you save. So,
yeah, I got one in there right now. It's on a Ford F-350. The little battery cover over behind the battery, the plastic cover.
Yeah.
It's gone. The green monster's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and right now they're not available from Ford.
Yeah.
So I found a used one. I'm supposed to have it in today. ASAP. What used to be Sonny's is now ASAP. And Stoney told me he had one that he found one down in Texas. So I'm supposed to have it in today because you can't get it for. The good thing about it is I don't have to do no programming. It's plug and play.
Well, that's a good thing. That's another thing we suffer with, is parts because after about 8 or 10 years, manufacturer doesn't support these modules anymore. Not just the ECMs, the BCMs, and a lot of seat modules and things like that because they don't have enough sales in them. And then we're hunting for used stuff. And a lot of that stuff we have to do jump some hoops to get it where you can open the gateway so you can reflash it.
So you can get in there to it to put the VIN number in.
That's correct. And it takes time to do that and hunt everything down.
Here at the Steve Marston Show, we are serious about faith, but we love a good dad joke, too.
We got it back up now? All right. You got things working again. All right. So,
So we need to break, Dave. We took too long.
oh, he is? Okay. All right. So he jumped over. Got to let him know that he's cross talking with us. It's not a good thing.
But and another thing too, Dave, about how much stuff has changed is just look at your tires on a car, look at your oil changes. When everything was carbureted, Joe, if it run more than 3,000 miles, you had a oil pan full of gas most of the time. And nowadays they've got them cleaned up so good. That's why you can get 300,000 and 400,000 miles out of an engine nowadays. So it's in the last 10 years we've seen a whole bunch of changes. In the last 10 years,
As far as the cars are concerned,
cars, 18-wheelers or anything nowadays, Dave, everything is, even with bumper to bumper, we've seen bookers change with them, haven't we, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's
all right. So do folks still come into you guys with their list of items that need to be changed because they were told by a quote reputable parts store that here's what's wrong,
every day.
and they go in and they change out the codes? Don't let them change the code. Don't let them take the codes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes our job harder if you have those codes erased, because the codes are in there. We can go back in with a scanner and look at the freeze frame data where
When
what
it messed
engine,
up.
what RPM, what mileage, how fast they were driving, and it helps us duplicate the issue on an intermittent issue.
And sometimes if you let them clear the code, then we got to have 3 drive cycles before it's going
That's correct.
to throw us a little ugly face again, show us what's going on. So, there was one in there last Friday, Dave. He walked in with the oxygen sensor in his hand.
Oh, of course.
This is what's wrong with it. And I said, probably not. I said,
It's what's happening before it gets to the oxygen
well,
sensor.
That's correct.
If you get an oxygen sensor and it throws up to you that the heater is shorted, okay, put one in it. But this one said it wouldn't switch, and it wouldn't switch because it had a vacuum leak.
Yeah, it's a air fuel management issue in front of that, which is,
And
it's all the O2 is doing monitoring that.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It don't. It's like Joe said. It don't do nothing but monitor. Hey, this is what's going on. Do this or do that. In the computer. But the guy, he was dead set. No, they told me it needed this. And I said, well, I'll put it on, but that ain't gonna fix your problem. Then you're gonna be mad at me. I said, just let me scan it.
Yeah.
So scanned it, went in there and looked. It's it said it wasn't switching. The guy raised the hood, and it's on a Ford product, and behind on the intake, it's got a T back there, and the T rod's off of it. I went to Ford, got a T, and we put on it, and I told him,
Good to go.
I said, now take this $100 oxygen sensor back and get your money back.
Will they give you it back?
Oh yeah, as long as it's still in the box, it's never been
As long as
opened.
you don't install it.
Yeah.
If you install it, you own it.
Yeah, and that's what I told him. I said, that's not going to fix your problem. I promise you. So we fixed his problem. I patted him on the back, and he said, man, I appreciate that.
The guys that are at the parts stores, are they former mechanics, or
No.
are they
No.
just,
No.
this is what you do. You figure it out by downloading the codes and sell the people a list of parts that they need.
So I had a customer in yesterday, Dave. Actually, he brought his truck in on Monday. His mama brought it in. You seen the truck where they got the front jacked up real
Oh
high?
yeah.
He
still
got,
don't
he got
understand
a
that.
ticket for that. Plus, he also got a ticket for his windows too dark. So his mama brought it in, and she said, can you please raise the back end up? Well, the boy only wanted to raise it 2 inches. And mama said, no, I want it raised 6 inches. So I ordered the blocks, and we raised it back up. It still sets down a little bit in the back end, but not much. And, she come by, and Russell called her and said, hey, can you come by and see if this is high enough for you? And she come by, and she said, yeah, I think I can live with that. So, but they gave him a ticket.
Well, how can you see
You can't see.
in front of you if you're sitting lower than the front end?
You can't see, Dave. And, I think it's either North Carolina or South Carolina, one of them places. It's highly illegal out there. They say it's a $5,000 fine.
I mean, could you imagine hitting somebody with that?
Oh, he'd
You
run
go
plumb
right
over top
under it.
of them.
Like, they'll go right in your windshield.
Yeah, he'd run plumb over the top of them. I mean, he's probably 5'6", 5'7", and he can't. He has to run and jump to get in the truck. It's got like 38s or 40 tars towers are that tall on it.
Yeah.
They're 3.5, 4 foot tall, and so, but I just smiled real big, but his mama, she was unhappy with him. She said, "I told you can't do that."
What's the rules here in Arkansas? Can you have the front end higher than the back end?
You can, but you're gonna get a ticket.
Okay.
They just started writing tickets.
Yeah, I haven't seen it as much here as I've seen it in Florida. We call them yee cars in Florida. They just look ridiculous.
Well, yeah, I don't understand why people want to have I didn't understand why they wanted to jack their body frame up so high at times. And I really don't understand why you want the front end pointing up at the sun. I don't get that at all. That's got to throw the center of gravity off on the automobile.
Dave, it throws everything off.
Okay.
Ask Joe about the front end alignment on all that.
They make lift kits and everything, and in those lift kits they'll say use OEM specs. Well, that's hard to do when you change the ride height on something. And your bump steer, which is whether it's a front steer or rear steer, when part of the suspension goes up and part of it goes down, when you raise part of it, the other half goes down. When it does that, changes the angle. So when it bumps up and down and bounces, the tires go in and out, depending on whether it's rear steer or front steer.
Okay.
And there's no way to change that back to normal. They make some lift kits where you can lower the steering tie rod angles down on them, but they still don't put them back to factory height. And when you don't have factory height on that, the specs are just a guess.
Yeah, you just
come back in and they're complaining, well, the tires are cupped out on it. It's doing this, it's doing that. It won't spin back on a turn. You create more problems in it just for looks, basically.
I got you. All right, first break, and then we'll be back with more. Call in, get your question answered. 501-401-1011. Right here to Car and Truck Doctor is brought to you by Bumper to Bumper on the Dave Elswick Show.
We bring you the biggest news stories of the day. Not to tell you what to think, but to allow you to have the most information so you can make up your mind. 101.1, The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
We're not adults, so just be there and listen. I just want someone to yap to. And I just feel like I'll be fine if someone just hears me talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
You're doing a really good job. And I don't think I tell you that enough. And I know sometimes we get into it and it's just hard on both of us. But, try to understand me more and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
Did you hear Congressman Bruce Westerman on the Dave Elswick Show?
I agree. I think it has to be on the president's terms to say this is what constitutes ending the war in Iran and meet those objectives and get out is what I think is the best path forward. But it also has to be something that prevents them from continuing to develop nuclear weapons and doesn't allow them to control the Strait of Hormuz, because we see the economic impact that has. I think over time, if they keep blockading ships through there or charging fees for it, I think you'll see pipelines built to get the oil out from where it's not as dependent on the strait. But that's going to take time to make that happen.
Don't miss Congressman Westerman, Wednesday mornings at 7:30 on the Dave Elswick Show, 101.1. The Answer. The Car and Truck Doctor Show is back, sponsored by Bumper to Bumper Auto Parts. Now, here's Dave Elswick on 101.1. The Answer.
You know, as far as cars and trucks go, are people still putting lights underneath their frames of their cars?
You ought to see the new one, Dave.
What's
you take
that?
the wheel off and you bolt it behind the wheel. Take the dust shield off, around the brakes, and you bolt this sucker to it. I have one of my customers' son come in. We done one on his Dodge pickup here. It's been probably a month ago. Put them on there and wire them up. It's got a switch on it where you can, like you go in a restaurant somewhere to eat.
Right.
You can leave them on. And they'll turn
and run the battery down.
Well, the LEDs, they'll run a long time.
I got you.
But they'll change, while it's sitting there, they'll change colors.
Oh, yeah?
They'll go from blue to red to white to green.
At least you're patriotic.
Yeah. But they'll sit there, because we had it inside the building. They finished it up right before we went home, so we had all the lights off in the building. And I reached over and flipped them on, and it's pretty neat, though. And I asked the guy, I said, you check and see if this is legal going down the road? He said, nope. He said, if they stop me, I'll worry about it then.
All right, let's go to the phones. How are you? Who? Oh, they sent an email. Okay. Let me find it. You guys finish up talking about the lights on the car.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them. It's pretty neat too. Some of the blue lights are illegal though. I don't care where you're putting them out on a car. And, your law enforcement out there, they got reasons for that. And,
yeah, because they don't want nobody, acting a fool trying to stop somebody with them on. So.
Yeah, so you need to be careful with that. And basically, I'm not a big aftermarket light kind of guy, because a lot of these vehicles today, if you shut them off, it takes 30, 45 minutes for all of the modules to go to sleep, and they have a sequence to do that. But if you, wherever you wire them in at, if you don't do it properly, what's going to happen is it's going to affect one of those modules going to sleep. And then you have an issue with it sets out there for 2 days without the lights on, but the battery's still dead.
Yep.
Because that one of those modules is monitoring the draw on the battery, and it sees activity, and it can keep it from going to sleep, cause it to stay on too long.
And it could cause to burn the module. That's what I was telling this guy. I said, look, it has to be, you got to make sure you read the instructions so they can tell you where to put it in it, because they've done, figured all this out. And he said, well, can you not just wire it to the battery and put a switch on it? No, not really. But if that's how you want it, that's how I'll do it. But
all right.
We didn't. We went ahead and plumbed it into the box and everything, got it where it's, where you don't have no trouble out of it. But like Joe said, if the module don't go to sleep, you're subject to having module problems.
Well, it's kind of simple. If it's hooked up properly, you'll probably be all right. But if it's not, if you're trying to do it yourself, or you got your buddy trying to do it, or his buddy's buddy, you're not going to get it done right, most likely. And you're going to cause more problems than you.
And if you mess around and short something out, you
Big
really
problems.
caused a problem.
Absolutely.
All right. I got a question for you when we come back. We've just got about 20 seconds here before Bill O'Reilly joins us. But you can text your questions to us. That make it easy for you. 501-401-1011. You text what you want to Val, and she'll let me know, or she'll forward the text to me. We're going to talk about a car when we come back here in just a few moments here on the Dave Elswick Show.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, thieves are using AI to steal from you. With forged paperwork and a signature, they can claim control of your property on record, then take out loans or sell it for quick cash. Use my promo code BILL at HomeTitleLock.com. Get a free title history report, plus a free trial of $1 million triple lock protection. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code BILL. On this Thursday, I'm thinking about the importance of taking a break. August is a time when the fat cats, the politicians, folks in the media, enjoy a little vacation. I'm guilty of that as well. We'll be off a few days later this month. But it's a good thing for people to recharge. I suggested the same thing for President Trump, who must get this Iran situation under control. The folks, all of us, need a break, especially now. We have war in the Middle East, the affordability situation, the rise of communism, general confusion. It all just wears you down. So if you can go to the beach and the mountains and enjoy yourself, go. That's a good thing, both mentally and physically. Take some time this month to relax. Remember, September, October, and November are going to be ferocious in the USA. There are enormous stakes ahead in the midterm election and policy around the world. So we all need to be prepared for that. And resting up is one of the ingredients. Back in a moment. Trapped in a timeshare, fees rising every year while availability shrinks, resorts making exiting nearly impossible. That's why I partner only with Lone Star Transfer. This family-owned company is transparent, honest, respectful. They have helped more than 40,000 owners exit legally and ethically through a simple guaranteed process. No surprise fees, no unused vacations, no stress. Please visit LoneStarTransfer.com or you can call 855-551-7066. Tell them Bill sent you today. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update.
This is my home and my family, and little pests had invaded it and were ruining our wonderful home. But now we have the Bug Man to protect us. They inspect regularly to keep out the termites, ants, roaches, and other pests. They even protect our yard in the summertime with Bug Man mosquito treatments. And the Bug Man does it for way less than those national companies.
Get the upper hand. Call the Bug Man at 663-9464 or go to bugman.com. Schedule your free inspection. No contracts required. The Bug Man has been serving our community for 44 years.
This is David Lucas. I have a question for you. Have you ever tried putting together a puzzle without the picture on the front of the box? You have all the pieces, but it's hard to see how they're supposed to fit together. And for many people, that's what retirement feels like. Even people who've worked hard and saved well still find themselves wondering and asking questions like, do we really have a plan or just a pile of accounts? Will our income last? Are we paying more in taxes than we should? And maybe the hardest question of all, if something happened to you tomorrow, would your spouse know where everything is, who to call, and what to do next? At Lucas Total Wealth, we help families bring everything together through our Thrive Planning Framework. You can learn more at TotalWealth.com. That's TotalWealth.com. Don't just retire, plan to thrive.
Investment advisory services are offered through Lucas Total Wealth, an Arkansas registered investment advisor. Arkansas Insurance License, number 1-615-2743.
Larry O'Connor sees the focus in the wrong place.
They will make this midterm about the president. Let them try. What they don't want to talk about is their candidates. What they don't want to talk about is the fact for the first time in American history, we have bona fide American-hating socialists who are going to be highly influential in a political party that's poised to take power in the legislative branch.
O'Connor and Company. Weekday mornings at 6, right before Dave Elswick at 7 on 101.1. The Answer. The Car and Truck Doctor Show is back. Sponsored by Bumper to Bumper Auto Parts and these dealers. Sullivan's Automotive in Little Rock. Carter Radiator Service in Little Rock. Now, here's Dave Elswick on 101.1. The Answer.
Okay, just explaining to you that you can text the questions to us at 501-401-1011. And Val will get it and then forward it to me. I've got one from a listener says, I got a car, where the traction control light, the ABS light, and brake light are all on. And I've noticed that the rear end wants to slide around more in the rain. What could cause all of those warning lights to come on at the same time And is that something that needs to be checked right away?
Well, I would check it right away.
Yeah.
But like we were discussing at the break, we don't have the luxury of asking him what kind of vehicle, year, make, and model. We don't have any of that. But we can tell you from experience of doing this for 40, 50 years, that good chance that vehicle, whatever year, make, and model it was, has got a service engine soon light on or a check engine light.
Yep.
And why it was on wasn't interfering with the traction control. There are certain codes that set in other modules, engine control module, the analog brake control module, even a low fluid level warning light will cause all those lights to come on, right, Doc?
They will. And, yes, you need to get it checked because all that really needs to work to make that car perform like it's supposed to perform going down the road, make the fuel mileage better. Even though you think the traction control light and all that don't mean nothing, but like me and Joe were discussing, it's got so many modules on it. And if that module, if it comes around and tries to talk to that module and it don't want to talk, it'll take it out of the circuit. And that's when it turns everything off. Your traction control light don't work. Your ABS stuff don't work. So you don't have no ABS brakes and none of that stuff to keep it when you apply the brakes from locking the rear wheels up.
Well, ABS is really important. I mean, the automatic braking system, because it literally will slow each wheel up at a different time so that they can try to keep you from going into a skid.
Well, if one of them locks up, it applies it and it'll pulse the brakes. When the lights are on, it's telling you that system's inoperative.
Yeah,
it's not going to work.
Yeah, Mama's not talking to it no more because Mama's mad at it, and that's the best way to explain it, because Mama don't like it no more until you get it back liking. You're going to have this problem, and the thing about it, it could be a wheel speed sensor gone bad, couldn't it, Joe?
Could be that. It could actually be an engine performance issue.
Yeah,
engine misfire data. If it sets enough misfires in there, it'll set a code in that module telling the other modules I have an issue. Other modules just turn off, because your traction control is not one module. It is 4 or 5 modules together talking to each other to make the traction control work right, because it's not just in the braking. A lot of them have yaw rate sensors in them, which means it's a rollover issue. If you go off the side of the road and you get in the gravel and you jerk it back on, you hit the dry asphalt. If it yaw rate sensor senses that, it takes the accelerator pedal away. You won't even be able to accelerate. Wet weather, one wheel slips, traction control kicks in on acceleration and limits how much gas you can give it and applies the amount of pressure to the wheel so it doesn't spin the tires. As well as when you're braking, if one of them is sliding, it'll pulse the brakes so they all slide evenly.
Yeah. So it'll slide going straight down the road, instead of sliding left or right or turning in a circle,
That's your traction control on acceleration as well as braking.
But there again, you still got to give a little bit more information on the text, because the biggest thing we need to know is what kind of car it is and what kind of vehicle it is, and if the check engine light's on.
All right. Well, evidently these 3 lights are on.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And like Joe said, if the check engine light on, it's probably got something else going on besides the analog brake stuff.
Well, certain codes in the engine module that'll turn those other modules off and tell them that I'm not functioning right because I have an issue. The best way to explain this.
Yeah.
And when I have an issue, I'm not being able to function properly. So you guys don't need to rely on the data coming from me. So they just turn themselves off.
Okay.
And when they do that, they set all the MIL lights.
Yeah. Do you have something, Val?
Well, I was just going to say, whenever I sold cars, it's crazy because we sold wholesale and we'd buy them from the auction. And those lights would be on. Every one of those lights would be on all these cars. I don't know if people just think that, oh no, it's gonna, but it's really not a big deal if it's a wheel sensor. What you said, Joe, the wheel
sensor.
Yeah,
wheel speed
and
sensor.
that's not really the end of the road for the car, but I think people might think that.
No, Duck was just talking about they had a car come in and they had this kind of a problem. It was just low brake fluid.
Yep, I've seen that on many of them. And people don't realize that is a closed system, ain't it, Joe?
Yep.
I mean, brake fluid don't go away. It don't evaporate and stuff. But, as your disc pads wear, it takes more fluid to run the cylinders out. And so, it gets low. But usually when you got a brake cylinder, mass cylinder low fluid, it's because the brake pads are wore out, ain't it, Joe?
if the pads wear, the thinner the pads get, the further out the pistons go. The further out the pistons go, the more fluid you need in there.
The more fluid it takes out of the mess cylinder.
That's it. And when the level gets low, you can have it where you come to a stop and it slosh forward, and that little level sensor light will flicker just for a second. That red brake light will come on. The minute it comes on, the ABS and the traction lights are coming right on behind it.
Yep. They're all shut down at one time.
Immediately.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, if lights start showing up on my dash, there's a reason for that.
There is.
And I want to get into, bumper to bumper. I'll get it into Joe's as fast as I can, have them look and find out why it's being triggered.
Well, a lot of times, Dave, if, and I'm discussing a diesel pickup. A lot of times I get them in there and the exhaust light will be on. And you'll get to talking to the customer. How long has it been on? Well, a couple of months now.
There you go.
And then the problem then it starts in, and then it flips up on the dash, says you got 150 miles at 55 mile an hour. Then you got 100 miles at 50 mile an hour. Then you got 20 miles. And then when it gets down to the last 25 miles, you're basically idling.
About 5 mile an hour.
Yeah, you're basically idling. And then when that happens, it gets real bad expensive.
Yeah, because you're going to end up having to call a tow at that point.
Well, not only that, it gets real bad expensive when I got to pull all the exhaust off and get it cleaned.
They used to have those little saying out there, those idiot warning lights.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to tell y'all out there in the radio world that are driving, own any car, they're only idiot lights if the idiot behind the steering wheel ignores them. That's
guilty as charged.
They don't speak with split tongue on this show.
Well, Dave talking about, I was talking about the diesel exhaust system on these diesel pickups. It ain't nothing to spend $8,000 or $10,000 on one of them. And most time the reason that it kicks it all out, same way as ABS, it don't, when it throws the exhaust light up on the dash, it's going to turn all that off. Well, it quits ginning, and when it quits ginning, the exhaust starts stopping up on it because it don't get no DEF fluid or REA fluid, whatever you want to call it, pumping in there to keep it clean.
Clean the filter out,
And then the only way you can clean it is pull it and send it to the place up in Little Rock. I use Amateur Service Company, and then they had to cut it open to clean it.
Good grief.
They got to cut it open, clean it, then put it all back together and weld it all back together.
Okay, so they made it expensive just to clean it.
Yeah, and if you go on over to we'll use, for instance, a 22 model Ford truck, F350, 450, 550, they all got the same exhaust. From the catalytic converter to the filter, just don't include no muffler, just to the filter. That's about $7,000 if you buy it new.
And you need new.
No, most time you can clean them.
Okay.
If they get stuck, I have had them stop up so bad they'd call me from up there and say, "Hey, you're gonna have to replace it. We can't clean it. It's too bad." Then I have had them where the injector goes down, melts all the cat out of them, and guess where all that stuff goes?
I can only imagine because I know what a cat costs on my car.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem you got then when it melts it all out, then you try to turn that in for a core, they look at you and just laugh. They think it's real funny. Then they hit you for $1,800.
Yeah, until they tell you what the cost is, and it may
$1,800 core charge.
Whoa! You don't get that back, do you?
Nope.
Yeah, we did one for the church the other day. Somebody rolled under it, stole the converter, cut converters out from underneath it. Replacement for those converters, the cost of those converters was like $9,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
For the pipe and the converters. And then there was a $500 core that we didn't have a core because they stole them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was for one of the churches in Little Rock, and their insurance company's paying for it. And we put some cat clamps on it. So try and stop them from doing that. But I'm gonna tell you what, that exhaust stuff is very, very expensive in today's world.
And that's what I try to tell people. This guy, all was wrong with it was a $80 temperature sensor.
Okay.
And it wound up about almost $10,000 to fix it.
He didn't stop when he was supposed to.
Yeah. If he would have come to the shop and said, "Hey, check engine light come on, my exhaust puff light's on. Can y'all check it?" He got out for $400 or $500.
You know, they ought to create a light that has like dollar signs. You know how they do next to your restaurant reviews where it has a little dollar sign or it says like it's least expensive, most expensive repair. They need a light like that.
Well, I get a kick out of talking to some of the technicians at Joe's or Duck's or some of the other places that I stop by and visit with the guys. And people will take pictures of their kids and they'll attach it to
stick it up on the dash, cover up the light.
To cover up the light,
Sure.
so they don't see the light.
We've seen cars come in with tape over them, Dave.
Black tape.
Yeah, just amazing. You know, why don't you just get the car checked and fixed? And they said, well, I've had it checked, and they said it wasn't important. I said, well, it was important enough for it to turn on the light.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, that's kind of like my dad was bad anal about putting brackets back on the vehicle, because one time I threw a bracket away and he chewed on me for days. He said, do you think that General Motors would have put that bracket on if it didn't need it?
Yeah.
He said, that bracket, you know, back in them days, that's when I was younger. He said, that bracket probably cost General Motors $2 to make. So think about how many cars that bracket has on it that they could have saved that $2.
You don't think they would have saved that $2 if they didn't need the bracket?
There
you go.
You know, and I'm just as bad as my dad, because he beat all that in my head when I was younger, because I was bad, hard-headed. And the new guy, Hard, that's one thing I told him. I said, look, I'm bad anal about making sure everything is put back in the brackets, tied up with zip ties. If you ain't got zip ties, I got a whole case of them over there. And I said, and dirty handprints. My dad was anal about dirty handprints. I mean, if you put a handprint on a car and you didn't get it cleaned off, oh yeah, we got talked bad too. Me and all my brothers.
No, that's the way you keep your customers.
Exactly. You know, and that's what I tell them. I said, these cars nowadays are $60, $70, $80, and $100,000. Would you like your car to go somewhere and you come back with a handprint on the hood of a white vehicle? I said, I got cleaner stuff. All you got to do is spray it on and take it right off. And I tell them, I said, when you go park it, take your rag with you and wipe the steering wheel off and wipe the brake pedal and the gas pedal off.
I won't say where it happened, but it did happen at one location that I grabbed hold of the steering wheel and came back with grease all over my hand.
Yeah.
I was not pleased at all. Zip.
And that's what I tell my guys. I said, look, guys, you wouldn't want your car to be like that, would you?
Yeah.
Well, no, but I ain't never thought about it. Okay. Think about it.
I got you. All right. Got to get a break in. Let's do that. We got time to get one more question in. If you want to be that person, 501-401-1011. It's the Car and Truck Doctors, brought to you by Bumper to Bumper here on the Dave Elswick Show, 101.1 The Answer.
Alex Marlowe cuts through the political spin on the Alex Marlowe podcast.
The economics of illegal immigration is so dumb. It's so stupid for Americans. We want American dollars to stay in America. That's how the economy grows. But if I pay an illegal alien and they send 50% of it home, the money doesn't go to American businesses. It goes to another country. Why do we want that? It's a race to the far left Islamist wing of the party.
Subscribe for free today on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Churches, businesses, and individuals, Habitat for Humanity Saline County needs you. This September, we're breaking ground in Benton for our 21st annual Apostles Build, constructing a home for a deserving family. But we can't do it alone. Your donation helps fund the materials, labor, and love that makes this build possible. Partner with us today. Visit HabitatSalineCounty.com for information. Habitat for Humanity Saline County. Building homes, building hope.
This is 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Start your morning with a voice you know and trust. Dave Elswick, bringing you the issues that matter to Arkansas, the news behind the headlines, and conversations you won't hear anywhere else. Then in the afternoon, stay informed and fired up with Doc Washburn, breaking down the biggest stories of the day and what they mean for you. And all day long, hear from some of the biggest voices in talk radio. CNN's Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, and Larry Elder, bringing you sharp insight, lively debate, and the perspective you've been looking for. News, opinion, insight, and the conversations shaping our community. From Little Rock to the natural state and beyond. This is 101.1 The Answer. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Alex Marlowe sees a positive on the jobs front.
Government jobs fell as usual. They fell 53,000. 53,000 public sector jobs are gone. That's a positive. Private sector payrolls rose 30,000, which is kind of low, but a lot of those jobs were added in construction and manufacturing. We're seeing a manufacturing renaissance in this country.
The Alex Marlowe Show, weekday mornings at 11 on 101.1 The Answer. The Car and Truck Doctor Show is back. Sponsored by Bumper to Bumper Auto Parts and these dealers. Joe's Garage in North Little Rock, Mid-State Transmission and Auto Repair in Benton, and Pinnacle Automotive in Little Rock. Now, here's Dave Elswick on 101.1 The Answer.
Well, as you listen to those commercials and they tell you where the locations are for the Bumper to Bumper certified repair shops are at, there's something that's fairly close to you. All you got to do is go in and run a search, and it will tell you where they're at, and you can find one that I bet you within 15 miles at the most away from you.
And right now, if it's an oil change or something minor, we're running them on through, and I'm sure Joe is too over at his place. But if it's more than 2 or 3 hours, yeah, you're gonna have to wait. Right now I'm running about 4 or 5 days behind.
Okay.
Things has kind of slowed down because school started back, which I'm kind of proud it did, because kind of gets a little stuff caught back up that we've been, putting off. Because, I got a few customers, they'll bring it and tell me, hey, whenever you get a minute, fix it. And so I've been getting some of them out. I got a guy brought a Dodge truck in the other day, and it's got a Dana 60 rear end in it. Joe, I ain't never seen one scatter like that and did.
Probably didn't have any grease in it.
No, it was full of grease. Had a little water, not a whole bunch of water, had a little water in it, but he got it stuck. He pulls a gooseneck trailer with it and had a small excavator on it, got it stuck coming out of the construction spot, and he stuck it to the floor.
Back and forth.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I ain't never seen one tore up as bad. It poked holes out the rear cover. I mean, it scattered. The pinion has no teeth left on it.
Well, if it had a little water in there, his bearings just wore out, and he'd been listening to it whine for a while. So when you get them all wore out like that, it loosens them up, and the gears won't make like they used to, and it'll bust them.
Yep. And like I said, he told me, he said, "Hey, I had it stuck, and I was being cruel to it," but it scattered it.
At least he admitted it to you.
Now it's being cruel to him, his back pocket.
Yeah. He won't know about overhauling it, and I got in there and the case is busted. Where the back pinion bearing goes. It busted it out, and I said, man, So he said, well, so I called Jasper. Jasper don't have one right now. They don't have no cores. That's what the guy told me. Send your core in. I said, the problem is my core ain't no good. My core was good. I built it myself, but so I called Stoney and talked to him. He said, I got one down in Texas. I think come out of Austin at one of their other salvage yards. He said it's got 60,000 miles on it. It's $2,400. My cost.
Right.
But I'm a ring and pinion for that thing, Dave, is almost $1,200. Then you got to have a spider gear case. That's right at $2,000.
Well, new cars are expensive to buy, and trucks as well. It only makes sense to me that it's going to cost more to fix them.
Yeah, but he was up front. He said, "Hey, I did get rough with it. I mean, and he's a construction guy, so But he said, look, just ever how you need to fix it, fix it. He said, you don't put the used one in it, so I bought the used one we put in it, and I went back and pulled all his brake rotors and everything off of his, because his is all pretty new, and we put everything over on the used rear end and changed the fluid and everything in it and put him back out. But but he was, he told me, he said, I got ugly with it. He said, I ain't gonna kid you. Skid steer is a little bit too heavy for that truck anyway, so he bought him a business class Peterbilt to pull all his equipment around with. he said, I'm gonna sell it as soon as I get it back running and stuff. So we'll see if he does. But we've heard that a few times, haven't we, Joe?
Sure, just fix it and I'm going to get rid of it.
Yeah.
5 years later, they're still driving it.
Yeah, because it's cheaper to keep driving it than it is to go out and buy a new one.
Well, that's, it's hard in our world to fix something. As a bumper-to-bumper certified service center, we offer a 2-year, 24,000-mile warranty, parts and labor. So when we fix something, we try and fix it, not work on it. We just fix it.
Right.
You know what Ken Sullivan always says?
Yeah.
Destroy it yourself.
Just, that's people working on their own cars.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, if you do that and you finally come to the realization you don't have the technical skill to take care of it, or you don't have the right tools, because, most of us in our garage don't have a lift.
90% of the people out there, Dave, don't have tools to work on their own car.
I know.
Period. There'll be a few out there, do-it-yourselfers that actually spent the money for the tools to try and diagnose something and try and fix it properly. But most people don't have the knowledge or the equipment to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have got tens of thousands of dollars tied up just in equipment to be able to diagnose the problems that are going on with cars.
Just to buy one scanner, you have 10 grand in it.
And then you got to pay to get it updated every year.
Yep. Another $2,000.
I bought one of my Snap-on, one of my old Snap-ons. Can't update it no more. It's at the end of its life. And I bought a new one the other day. They did give me $4,000 trade-in on mine. They had a special going on with it, but it still cost me almost $10,000, Dave.
And, sorry to say that means when you get the bill and your car is being worked on, some of that's going to be on your bill.
The diagnostic time is going to be on there. If anybody says they diagnose what's wrong with your car for free, be skeptical of that, because I don't see how a reputable repair shop could do that.
They can't.
All right.
Thank you, Dave.
Music means that we're out of time. I appreciate you two coming on. I'll be going on vacation at the end of August, and Duck and Joe will be filling in for me, so you'll hear him for a couple of weeks in a row.
Yeah, we got it, Dave.
My listeners will love that, having you guys here. They definitely will love that. All right, we'll take a break. Coming back, we're going to talk about the economy with David here in a moment on the Dave Elswick Show.
Vor uns liegt ein weites Tal, die Sonne scheint mit Glitzerstrahlen.
News breaks fast. We break it down faster. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. KDXE, Kamak Village, Little Rock.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. On the heels of yesterday's report on consumer prices in July, this morning another indication that inflation is easing. The Labor Department report says the rise in producer prices at the wholesale level, slowed last month, rising 4.7% in July from a year ago. That is down from a much larger 5.5% increase in June. It is a kind of story that's become more commonplace in recent years in Northern California. An illegal alien with a lengthy rap sheet and just released from jail under arrest for allegedly killing a man in Martinez.
California's sanctuary city policies under scrutiny as an illegal alien with a long criminal history under arrest again, this time for stabbing a 68-year-old man to death. Court records show a California judge released the illegal the day before the murder. The gruesome crime, which took place in a neighborhood, caught on camera. The Department of Homeland Security posting on its X page, the California governor must not release this murderer from jail and turn him over to us so we can remove him from our nation. Laura Winters reporting.
Apparently, there's big money, taxpayer dollars, in representing unaccompanied children in the country illegally.
Migrant children detained after entering the U.S. without their parents are usually entrusted to federal government care. Congress has created various legal protections for them, including a 2008 law requiring the government to provide legal representation in deportation proceedings. Now, one law firm tapped to receive a $150 million federal contract has dropped out, while another firm, One Rescue, has been awarded a contract worth up to $244 million. Its founder resigned in 2023 amid allegations of misconduct. I'm Ben Thomas.
On Wall Street, ahead of this morning's opening bell, the Dow futures are up 172 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
What is dedication?
The thing that drives me every day as a dad is Darian. We call him Day for short. Every day he's hungry for something, whether it's attention, affection, knowledge. And there's this huge responsibility in making sure that when he's no longer under my wing, that he's a good person. I think the advice I would give is you don't need to know all the answers. The craziest thing was believing that your dad knew everything. So as a dad, you felt like you had to know everything. You had to get everything right. It's okay to make mistakes. As long as it's coming from love, then, it kind of starts to work itself out. I want him to be able to sit back one day and go, we worked together, we did a good job.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
With your news flash, I'm Trey Westerberg, 101.1 The Answer. Receive your dental implants and new smile in as little as 1 day with Little Rock's dental implant specialist, Dr. Samuel F. Jurek, DDS. Schedule your consultation now at jurekdds.com. 2 soldiers were killed when an Army Apache helicopter crashed Wednesday afternoon in Salado. The helicopter based at Fort Hood went down about 1:30 p.m., sparking a fire. The soldiers' names are being withheld until their families are notified. Arkansas has received a $2.1 million federal grant to improve waterfowl habitat across the state. The funding will help provide more than 3,500 acres of habitat and public hunting opportunities. The program encourages rice farmers to leave waste rice in fields and flood them for migrating waterfowl. Arkansas is one of 49 states reaching a $15.5 million settlement with mortgage company New Res over forced-placed insurance. Officials say the company improperly added insurance to more than 4,200 borrowers who already had coverage. New Res will provide $4.5 million in refunds and pay another $11 million in penalties and costs. I'm Trey Westerberg with your news flash on 101.1 The Answer.
With your sports flash, I'm John Thayer on 101.1 The Answer. The Royals fell yesterday in Los Angeles as they lost to the Dodgers 4-2. Kansas City has now lost 4 consecutive games as the Royals dropped to 49-73. St. Louis Cardinals winners yesterday. The Cardinals beat the Phillies at Busch Stadium 7-1. Kyle Lee got the victory. He's 9-4. Cardinals push their record to 61-60. In preseason openers this weekend, the Kansas City Chiefs will host the Rams on Saturday at Arrowhead Stadium. The Dallas Cowboys will also open up preseason play on Saturday. They'll play in Seattle Saturday night against the Seahawks. Northside Power, your trusted name when the power goes out. Generators isn't something they do, it's all they do. Find out more at northsidepower.com. I'm John Thayer with your Sports Flash on 101.1 The Answer.
If things don't change, can you imagine America in 20 years? Scary thought, isn't it? The good news is we have the power to take our nation back. Stay right here for all the information you need. 101.1 The Answer. There's a real battle going on, not only for our future, but that of our children and grandchildren. How do we ensure they have it better than we do? One way is to keep listening to us. We're your information source in the battle. 101.1 The Answer.
All right, we move into the 8 o'clock hour, and it's a Thursday. David Fisher is with us, and we're going to talk to him. David, during the time that you've been on my show here in the last few months, you've been saying that we're at the bottom of the gold and the silver markets now, and it's all the information that we're starting to see now confirms that, as we're seeing gold and silver recovering in their price. Why don't you explain how this has all happened?
So, gold and silver pulled back because of the war. And then for about the last 2 or 3 months, it's been moving sideways, which is what markets do when they set their new foundation, or the new floor is what they call it. And then it's you're just waiting for the next movement upward to get back into a major bull market. And we now have confirmation of that. Not just me saying it, the market is saying it. Analysts outside my industry are saying it. But let's get into the numbers. That tells the whole story. It doesn't matter what people's opinions are. The numbers is what's leading the confirmation of what I'm saying and what analysts are saying. And so last week, here's what happened in the markets between stock indexes and gold and silver indexes. And I'm not anti-stock, but you'll see how gold and silver significantly outperform the stock indexes. And they're talking about, how incredible the market is in stocks right now. So that puts it in perspective even more how credible gold and silver is. But the Dow went up last week from Monday through Friday, 1.9%. The S&P went up 2.9%. The incredible market that everybody's talking about, the NASDAQ, went up 4.25%. And gold went up 7.5% in those 5-day periods of time. Silver went up 10.25%. Silver went up, Dave, more than all 3 U.S. stock indexes combined. So we're in a major bull market. Just right before I went on vacation, gold was around $3,900 in the spot index. Now we're at $4,400 thereabouts. So we've had a $500 movement in that short period of time. So this is all happening as a result of the confirmation of a jobs report that came in really ugly last Friday. So let's talk about that for just a quick second.
Okay.
They thought we were going to add, Wall Street thought we were going to add 85,000 jobs. It shrunk 23,000 jobs, way off the mark. And also the 2 months prior, months got revised down, a combination of 103,000 jobs lost. So what is this saying? Markets were expecting opposite. When employment is in full, the Fed doesn't need to lower rates. So right now, employment is shrinking. But actually it sounds confusing, but the unemployment number came down 0.1%. But how the jobs report came out was we lost most of those jobs were government jobs, that's a good news actually. But the market said, hey, the economy is not growing as fast as we thought. The Fed cannot and should not raise rates in that environment. So as a result of that, gold and silver rallied, and so did stocks. We're in a bull market in stocks and gold and silver now. And like I said on your program, historically, about a month ago, when we're in both bull markets, gold and silver outperform stock indexes by about a 2-to-1 and mostly a 3-to-1.
Yeah. So, that's a good deal for investors. They're seeing good returns on gold and silver, and it looks that the future is pretty rosy right now, doesn't it?
Yeah, so we're moving in the right direction. We're we just had a report today, just moments ago before coming on your show. It's called the PPI report, the Producer Price Index report. And yesterday was the other report called the Consumer Price Index. So what are those? Those are two things that tells us how much inflation is in the system, how much consumers pay for cost of goods and services, mostly goods, and then how much wholesalers, the producers, pay for the same types of things. And those numbers came in line with what Wall Street was. They weren't elevated. They're just right there, which is a good thing. It's going to send the signal to the Federal Reserve that they don't need to raise interest rates. And Kevin Warsh, his wait and see game is playing out perfect, because he wants to eventually lower rates. But they had to have some confirmation of this. And so everybody now that's coming out just since this report, which is only 30 minutes ago, is saying more than likely the Fed's probably not going to raise rates the next time here, which is next month. So that's a good thing, because higher rates don't do well for the economy, don't do well for stock markets or gold or silver. So it looks like we're kind of back in the game here now. Okay, so let's talk about Japan. Japan is having some big problems as far as their bond market goes, and we kind of came to the rescue for them. But here's the bad part. Who comes to the rescue for us? Really good question, Dave. So why is Japan in trouble? Well, they have done the very same thing that we're slightly behind them in doing also, the United States. And what is that? That is, Japan has issued a lot of debt, and the world has bought their debt. They're living beyond their means. They're not balancing their budget. They have a budget deficit. They're not doing well in their currency. It's been falling apart. And as I said on your program about a year, not quite a year ago, that Japan was in trouble. They had to sell some U.S. treasuries. They sold a small amount, $50 to $100 billion, to prop up their currency. It was not enough. They've been intervening in their currency ever since. Nothing's really worked. So Japan is on the cliff of, you will, of falling off when I'm saying their currency is going to go down a whole bunch. The United States saw this, and last week, for the first time since 1998, the United States led a financial invasion, if you will. They came in with a U.S.-Japanese joint intervention program to prop up the Japanese currency called the yen. This is just unheard of. So why did they do this? Well, it was about ready to fall a whole bunch. And if it was going to do that, when a country's in trouble, they have to start selling assets. The only asset they have left is not their own currency, because now investors don't want their Japanese bonds because they're not paying enough money. They're losing money. Sounds familiar to the Treasury, huh? And so they would have to sell off their biggest asset, which is U.S. Treasuries. So the government under Scott Bessent led this charge. We don't know what the number is, but many people are speculating it's rather a huge number. What we do know is the United States had euros on hand. They sold those euros, and they bought with that money the Japanese yen, supported the Japanese currency. But already, Dave, it's not enough to turn this mechanism around, because the world is just saying there's no way mathematically that Japan is going to get out of debt. So Japan is not out of the woods by any means. And the fear is, moving forward, that they might need to sell U.S. treasuries, but not $50 to $100 billion. We're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. That is the fear that our government has. So Scott Bessent, because what would it do? It would cause our dollar to go down a whole bunch. And it would cause also other countries like China and European countries probably to mass liquidate treasuries also. It would cause a massive sell-off. And we can't do that. We can't afford to buy all that treasury market back. So what they're going to do is, more than likely, They might have to devalue their currency. They might have to default. Who knows what's going to happen? But the United States does not want this. And Scott Bessent said that the Fed now should be involved in helping this out. So obviously it didn't work. So this is really good for gold and silver, because at the end of the day, when these countries do what this behavior is of massive overspending, and it becomes mathematically impossible to pay off that debt, the world as central banks see this as common sense, and they would rather hold gold and or silver instead of holding these governments' debt. And the United States is following exactly in the same footsteps of Japan. We're just a little bit behind them. We haven't got to that point yet, but your question is very profound. There is nobody that will bail us out. And Japan and us are the largest indebted countries of the major G10 countries of the world. So there's a quote by a guy, and I'll end on this, out of Bloomberg, Mark Cranfield, because Japan just had an auction last week and it was horrendous. Here's what Mark says. The auction was horrible. Such a bad bond Japanese sale. It could spill over negatively into the U.S. Treasury markets and other G10 bonds and cause a massive sell-off in U.S. Treasuries, causing a crisis. So it's a house of cards. I'm not a chicken little, the sky is falling, but these are major people who have nothing to do with gold are saying there's a big problem that could get triggered in the Treasury market, and this is what we're on the cusp of that. That's a really good thing for gold, but I don't like that kind of a tailwind for gold and silver. But that's what's causing some major movements towards gold and silver is the debt of the world. And unfortunately, next week or in the coming weeks, we're going to hit $40 trillion. We'll be talking about that, and it's not getting any better, unfortunately.
Yep, the spending is not being curtailed. That is what's not happening, and they're spending us into oblivion. They're taking us into areas we've been there before, but we don't want to go back. Let's just put it that way.
Yep, we're hitting the GDP numbers of what it was post World War II, and we got out of that financial calamity. What got us out was jobs, factory workers, industrial. We don't have that environment anymore. So trying to get out of this environment is going to be a tall tale by any president. And that's what President Trump is facing. He's doing a fantastic job, but there's a lot of things that he inherited, a big financial mess, an inflationary environment. So he's doing the best as he can, but there's a lot of cards that are stacked against him.
All right, we'll have a few more things to discuss with David before we let him go. I got to get a break in, though. It's 8:18 here at the Dave Elswick Show right now. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Americans are tuning to Salem News Channel. For breaking news, common sense analysis, and the conservative voices leading the conversation, SNC delivers the stories that matter most. Watch Scott Jennings, Larry Elder, Mike Gallagher, and many others tackling the issues facing our nation. Stream free on Pluto TV, Samsung TV, the Roku channel, and more. Salem News Channel, the news you want, the perspective you trust.
Here's the deal. The government is over $38 trillion in debt, which means the IRS isn't slowing down. And the tax code is complex and unforgiving. So it's not surprising if you're one of the millions of Americans that owe back taxes to the IRS. Unfortunately, they're the world's most powerful collection agency, with the ability to garnish your wages, seize your bank accounts, and even take your home or business. But don't be stressed or worried any longer. We're Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. We have resolved over $3 billion in tax debt for our clients. Our award-winning professionals deal with the IRS every single day, protecting our clients and preparing them for the best possible resolution. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, give Optima a call today.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
When you need the news that matters most, you need the Doc Washburn Show. Live and local, Doc covers the latest breaking news from Arkansas and across the nation. Plus, he digs into the stories no one else is talking about, the issues that affect you, your family, and your community. Smart analysis, straight talk, real conversations. The Doc Washburn Show.
Hey, Doc, I appreciate you taking my call. I feel really confident to say anytime that I turn on the radio and you're on the radio, I know that I'm going to get accurate reporting. I'm going to get unbiased perspective, and I want you to know I appreciate it. You do an exceptional job. So I'm listening with intent because I know and I trust that you're going to give us the facts and not an opinion per se.
The Doc Washburn Show, weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. on 101.1. The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Dave Elswick is the conservative voice of Arkansas, and he's back. 101.1, The Answer.
Okay, we're going to get back and talk for a few more moments with David here on the Dave Elswick Show. Let me tell you how to get to his company, Landmark Gold, and get into this gold and silver time where it's growing, and it's going to grow in the future. It looks like as well. Phone number 844-604-2575. 844-604-2575, or visit them online, Landmark Gold. That is one word, landmarkgold.com. All right, David. So what is it that you would like to tell my listeners about gold and silver, at least let's just look in the short term, the next, just say next year. What do you think we can expect from gold and silver?
Well, I think you're going to see at least a 30% increase. If we saw a 10% increase in 5 days in silver and 7.5% increase in gold, I think I'm ultra conservative saying 30+% in a year from now, because now we're in the thrux of a major bull market. I talked last week on your program about China doing a financial reset in the gold market. And my words came from a lot of studying. And now, since then, Goldman Sachs came out and in essence said the same thing. What they said is they called it China is re-engaging in the gold market. So China is a major force in this. We have a lot of components that's driving the gold market. China's buying massive amounts of gold. We have problems in Japan with their bond market. There's problems with the United States Treasury market. The world doesn't want to hold debt like it used to, and they're going towards gold. So if the biggest money in the world are doing this, why wouldn't you want to look into rolling over a portion of your 401k or IRA and doing the same thing? They must be telling us a couple things. They're telling us gold and silver is going to go a lot higher, number one. And number two, they're also telling us we might have a financial calamity on our hands in the next 1 to 2 years. I don't know if it's going to be in 1 year or 2 years, but eventually we're going to hit that level where the world just does not want to hold our debt, and there's going to be a big problem on our hands. But that's going to be at the core of the whole financial system around the dollar. But in the midst of that, now's the time to diversify, because gold is in a major bull market, so is silver. It's not a get rich quick. There's no pressure, but we've helped lots and lots of people in your neck of the woods and across the country, because I'm in 8 different stations, talk show hosts, and about 500 stations nationally. And a lot of people are calling our company. There's no pressure, no obligation, but diversification is the key. And who knows, might be one of the best investments you ever done.
All right. Phone number again, 844-604-2575, or on the web at Landmark Gold, one word, landmarkgold.com. David, thanks for the time. Appreciate it. We look forward to talking to you again next week.
I look forward to it too. Have a good one.
All right. Have a great one. Okay. Don't forget, when you call David and call his business, again, that's 844-604-2575. You should ask to get one or get both of the free white papers that they offer, the golden era that has a silver lining, and bricks the new financial system that could dethrone the U.S. dollar as the global reserve currency. You will also get their information packet on investing in gold and silver. Contact them again by just calling 844-604-2575 or go to landmarkgold.com. Landmarkgold, one word, .com. And David will be back on with us again next Thursday to offer you some more great information that the only place you get it from is right here on the Dave Elswick Show, and keeps you up to date on what's going on in the gold and in silver markets. All right, let's move on now with what else is going on in the world. I don't need to talk about the primaries that happened on Tuesday because we did that yesterday. But after that loss of Francisca Hong in Wisconsin, Hassan Piker, who is one of this guy is a terrible podcaster, and I got to believe he might say differently, but I believe that he doesn't love the United States of America, and he says because of what happened, some of these people being of socialists that were defeated by the folks in the Democratic Party, that the knives are going to be out. He's a Marxist podcaster. I don't know if you've ever heard him or not. Most people that want to hear what somebody has to say without hearing a four-letter word every other word don't pay any attention to Piker. But he's an influencer, and he's playing an increasingly central role in the election cycle. And that means if he's saying a lot of stuff, you should pay attention to some of it, because a lot of other people are doing that. Piker warns, and I'm going to quote now, "The establishment will not underestimate us. It will continue to play central roles. It will continue to undermine us." Now, they're not going to underestimate us. Okay, so they're trying to stop or slow down this DSA move, and they're doing it by throwing just about everything they have but spaghetti at the wall to bring this movement to an end. So he says the knives are going to be out. Ed Morrissey of Hot Air wrote about this and said Piker was clearly unhinged last night. That was on Tuesday night. And it only got worse, as I predicted yesterday morning. Just days after demanding that the establishment get behind El Said and largely succeeding, Piker finished his rant with dark thoughts about his plans for the same establishment that has undermined the DSA and radical anti-Semitic Hamas sympathizers. The knives are going to be out. No kidding, says Morrissey. The knives will be out figuratively, and considering the DSA's propensity for endorsing violent responses, perhaps literally as well. All you got to do is look back to the George Floyd days and what the left did at that time, and know that if they think that they're being attacked by the establishment and it's putting their plans on hold, basically, don't expect them not to treat the establishment of the Democrats with any kind of kid gloves. There's going to be a lot of, propensity for them saying that there should be some violent response. But I have more in just a moment.
I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Powerful storms have again wreaked havoc across the Midwest. Tornadoes, heavy rains, flash flooding. First responders and utility crews have been working to clear the roads and restore power to hundreds of thousands. A 4-year-old Indiana boy was killed when a tree fell on his home. The earthquake death toll in Colombia is at least 265 as the window for rescuing additional survivors from the rubble slowly closes. Looks like there's going to be a high-profile job opening at the White House. Presidential Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt will step down at the end of the month in order to spend more time with her young family. The Kennedy Center's board of directors set to meet today to discuss where to go from here now that a federal judge has blocked a 2-year closure of the Arts Center in Washington for renovation work. More details at srnnews.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
When I was feeling the stress of too much credit card debt, I looked at 2 different options: debt settlement and debt management. They may sound the same, but guess what? They're not. Debt settlement seemed like a quick fix, but I found out it would destroy my credit, create tax headaches, and hit me with huge fees. They actually told me to stop paying my bills. No way, not me. Then I turned to a debt management plan developed by the team at Trinity. They worked with my creditors, lowered my payments, reduced my interest, saved me thousands, and paid off my debt. And Trinity is a Christian company, which is important to me.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-936-5496.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-936-5496.
This is my home and my family, and little pests had invaded it and were ruining our wonderful home. But now we have the Bug Man to protect us. They inspect regularly to keep out the termites, ants, roaches, and other pests. They even protect our yard in the summertime with Bug Man mosquito treatments. And the Bug Man does it for way less than those national companies.
Get the upper hand. Call the Bug Man at 663-9464 or go to bugman.com. Schedule your free inspection. No contracts required. The Bug Man has been serving our community for 44 years.
This is David Lucas. I have a question for you. Have you ever tried putting together a puzzle without the picture on the front of the box? You have all the pieces, but it's hard to see how they're supposed to fit together. And for many people, that's what retirement feels like. Even people who've worked hard and saved well still find themselves wondering and asking questions like, do we really have a plan or just a pile of accounts? Will our income last? Are we paying more in taxes than we should? And maybe the hardest question of all, if something happened to you tomorrow, would your spouse know where everything is, who to call, and what to do next? At Lucas Total Wealth, we help families bring everything together through our Thrive Planning Framework. You can learn more at TotalWealth.com. That's TotalWealth.com. Don't just retire, plan to thrive.
Investment advisory services are offered through Lucas Total Wealth, an Arkansas registered investment advisor. Arkansas Insurance License, number 1-615-2743.
Larry O'Connor sees the focus in the wrong place.
They will make this midterm about the president. Let them try. What they don't want to talk about is their candidates. What they don't want to talk about is the fact for the first time in American history, we have bona fide American-hating socialists who are going to be highly influential in a political party that's poised to take power in the legislative branch.
O'Connor and Company. Weekday mornings at 6, right before Dave Elswick at 7 on 101.1. The Answer. Now back to the Dave Elswick Show. 101.1. The Answer.
All right, so let me pick up where I left off before we went to news. And we were talking about how is this really radical left wing of the Democratic Party going to react since their establishment, the people who make up the propensity of the Democratic Party, has been fighting back against the DSA. And I was just saying that the knives are going to be out figuratively, and considering the way that the DSA has been acting, their propensity for endorsing violent responses, perhaps they're going to be out being violent literally as well. At any rate, the idea that the DSA will simply fall in line for Crowley in the same way that Piker and the socialist demand of Democrats in Michigan is clearly unrealistic. They are not going to play by Crowley and the normal Democrats' game rules. And that means that Crowley may find himself a lonely figure during the general election cycle with the figurative knives stuck in his back and stuck in his back for his campaign as well. In its way, it's analogous to Jasmine Crockett's refusal to play along with James Tallarico down in Texas. She's not helping him at all. She's attacking him at times, and it's hurting him, and will likely have a similar electoral effect. That's why I'm not expecting, and I've been very upfront about this. I'm not expecting a big blue wave come in November. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're expecting it to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen. I could be wrong, but my reading of the tea leaves are that we'll hold the House and hold the Senate. I mean, it may be even more razor thin than it is right now, but I think we're going to hold. The Nation of Islam had a celebration on election night. Do you know who they were celebrating with? If you said El Said, you get a gold star. You're exactly right. Now, when I say the Nation of Islam, who am I talking about? They haven't been in the news in a while. That's the group that was founded by Louis Farrakhan. You remember you would see them at stoplights gathering change from everybody, and everybody's throwing their change in buckets and things. Have no idea who they're helping, but they must be good. They're out here, collecting money. So I'm going to give money. Well, then it came out how many millions of dollars Americans were giving away freely to the Nation of Islam. Abdul El Said has quietly embraced the nakedly anti-Semitic Nation of Islam during his Senate campaign, meeting with two lieutenants of the group's leader, Louis Farrakhan, who themselves have railed against, quote, the Jews. In the Washington Free Beacon was said that, the anti-Semitism Nation of Islam is probably really underreported. Benton Harbor Mayor Marcus Muhammad, a quote, student minister, unquote, in the Nation of Islam, posted a photo arm in arm with a much shorter El Said backstage at the Democrats' election night watch party back on August 4th. And Troy Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam's Detroit chapter, posted a photo from a Detroit NAACP event in June of 2025, sporting the group's distinctive bow tie and towering over El Said as they locked into a solidary handshake. The two Muhammads with whom El Said fraternized are well known across Michigan for their nation affiliations and are loyal disciples of Farrakhan, who echoes his anti-Semitic rhetoric. Yes, Marcus Muhammad is a mayor in Michigan in Benton Harbor. I know where Benton Harbor is at. That's up in the area where I was raised as a kid. Was a nice area. I don't know if it's still a nice area or not. Okay, so you got that going on. So now you got the Nation of Islam getting involved, and to say that they are anti-Israel is just amazing. Those people are so anti-Semitic. If there wasn't a law against murder, they would be out murdering Jews in the streets. There's no doubt about that at all. Michelle Tafoya, we're trying to get her set up to come on the show in the next week or so to talk about her running for a senator up in Michigan. Said that she's going to be out in the race in Minnesota, really turning the spotlight on Peggy Flanagan, who is going to be the Democrat running for the Senate, on Flanagan and what she's done about fraud, waste, and abuse. I mean, in Minnesota, we know that the governor there right now, of course, he was the candidate for vice president during the last election. It has, Tim Walz has decided that he's not going to run for reelection. And so you got to have a new governor. Well, the person who won the primary was Peggy Flanagan. What position did she hold before that? She was the, vice governor, and she's up to her neck in this stuff with Walz. Because if you're the lieutenant governor of a state, the person that's right under the governor, and you don't know about what's going on in your neck of the woods, so to speak, you're either stupid, ignorant, or lying your butt off. I personally think it's the last for her. Nobody asked her about that during the primary. Nobody questioned her on her part in the fraud, waste, and abuse in Minnesota. But Tafoya is already bringing it up. I mean, she's going to make that a big part of her campaign, no doubt. And I think the people of Minnesota are going to go red this time for the Senate seat there in Minnesota. Minnesota's new Democratic nominee to the Senate has baggage heading into this November election. I just talked about that. The massive fraud scandal that rippled through the land of 10,000 lakes happened right under her nose. The lieutenant governor scored a major win for the insurgent progressive movement that's reshaping the Democratic Party from the outside on Tuesday, toppling the more moderate Congressperson Angie Craig of Minnesota in the process. But her role during the Minnesota fraud scandal has plagued her campaign, with both sides attacking her on that issue. And don't expect that to change anytime soon. It became Craig's prime line of attack against her. Quote, "The lieutenant governor, even as we sit here today, continues to take absolutely no accountability for any of the fraud issues, and she continues to blame the governor." That's what Craig was saying during, the debates with Flanagan on Minnesota's public radio. And I'm going to be honest, it's pissing me off, he said. Tafoya, here's what she's been saying. Peggy may not want to talk about fraud, but I will. The lieutenant governor was second in command while billions of taxpayer dollars were stolen. She refuses to take responsibility and is now asking Minnesotans to promote her to the U.S. Senate. Minnesota deserves better than Peggy Flanagan. And there's going to be a whole lot of commercials just like that one running for Tafoya, and she runs for the Senate seat in Minnesota. Okay, a former Marine has finally been released after more than 4 years of torture in Russian custody. This is the guy that Biden turned his back on and went and got Griner, the WNBA basketball player, sent back to the United States, and didn't get Robert Gilman taken care of. He's a former Marine who had been held by Putin's Russia for more than 1,600 days. Sebastian Gorka, you remember Sebastian when he was with the Trump, the first Trump administration, celebrated the moment, posting, "Real Donald Trump will not be stopped. Robert is the 107th American brought home from captivity in just 18 months. Bravo, Steve, no man left behind." The joy of Gilman's release is mixed with outrage over his treatment in Putin's gulag. The U.S. News World Report described Gilman's condition earlier this month, prior to his release yesterday. A former U.S. Marine jailed in Russia since 2022 and allegedly tortured and injected with mind-altering drugs, slipped into a stupor in June, and may be close to death, according to two hostages advocating with other groups and his sister. Fox News reporting he's very frail. American's newsroom saying on Wednesday, quote, if you've seen any of the photos that the White House has since released, you can just see how frail he is. Gilman, who was released from Russian captivity on Tuesday, was unable to walk off the plane on his own. Ramsey said he will also require extensive mental and psychological care, along with physical and dental treatments, as he begins what is expected to be a very lengthy recovery. But we need to get Brittany Griner back before him. It's incredible. And that's completely on the back of the Biden presidency. All right, we got to get one more break in. Let's do that, and then we'll come back and we'll pick up a story about a hard pivot to the right in Colorado. Pardon me, in Colombia. We will talk about that when we return on the Dave Elswick Show.
Every family deserves a place to call home. In Saline County, Habitat for Humanity is making that happen. One house, one family, one hammer at a time. We're not just building homes, we're building hope, stability, and a stronger community for everyone. And you can be a part of it. Volunteer, donate, or shop the Habitat Restore for great deals that fund our mission. Habitat for Humanity of Saline County. Building homes, building hope. Mention the answer and receive a 25% discount at the Benton or Bryant Restore.
The news never stops, and neither does your schedule. That's why we're here, keeping you up to date with all the biggest stories of the day. We're 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
It's what we were taught, trained, and told to do.
It could be for anything. Helping a friend move.
Listening to a fellow veteran for hours, at any hour of the day.
Or just simply making time for people. A neighbor, a loved one, or even a stranger.
We're often the first to help others. There's no question about it.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
Perhaps it's time to do for yourself what you would do for others.
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Don't miss cutting-edge coverage of daily news from an America First perspective on the Alex Marlow podcast on the Salem Podcast Network.
Everything I'm seeing from the public is that public does not like the idea of just pure welfare and charity being done for people who are able to work and are not willing to work. So able-bodied people have got to get back to work.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com. The Dave Elswick Show is back. 101.1 The Answer.
All right, continuing here on the Dave Elswick Show in Colombia, in the elections that just took place, there has been some big changes in that country, and it's because they're not going with a progressive. They're taking a hard turn to the right, and their new president, Esparilla, was sworn as the nation's new president less than a week ago. They call him El Tigre, or the tiger, as he's known, has already moved quickly to take back his country from the drug cartels that are destroying his country and destroying the United States as well. The Miami Herald reported that Colombian forces killed 6 members of illegal armed groups in 2 military operations over this last weekend. President Esparilla said, marking the first major results of a security offensive launched just days after he took office, promising an aggressive crackdown on guerrillas and drug trafficking organizations. 4 members of a dissident faction of the former Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or the way we know them as FARC, F-A-R-C, were killed in an operation in the Central Department of Meta, while 2 members of the Clan de Golfo, Colombia's largest drug trafficking organization, were killed in a separate operation in the northwestern department of another area, according to the government. Secretary of War announced that Colombia has joined the A3C, that's Americans Counter Cartel Coalition, as the 19th member through the newly inaugurated president. As our president likes to say, President the Tiger, Colombia has already requested that the Department of War join Colombia in its fight against narco terrorism. The Tiger replaced leftist Gustavo Petro. All right, so he's out. They made a 180 is what they've done. And time will only tell if they can make the necessary changes. I mean, by being on the right and working against the cartels, the Tiger, as he's called, the president, has put a bullseye right on, big time, on his back. So we'll have to see how it all works out for them. All right, now another indictment has been filed against the Southern Poverty Law Center, and they have been for decades used by corporations and elite media to brand Christian and conservative organizations as hate groups. I mean, the people that they come out and say are a hate group were mainstream Christian groups. They weren't hate groups, but they wanted to take away any vestiges of power that they might have. Now their charade is piece by piece being exposed. Julia Cassidy at Town Hall says a former Southern Poverty Law Center executive was arrested Wednesday on charges that she was secretly paying informants inside of white supremacist groups. That was reported by that really left-leaning news organization CNN. If they're reporting it, it's got to be bad. That they can't ignore it. It should tell you something. Heidi Brinich, former director of the Southern Poverty Law Center's Intelligence Project, boy, that's using intelligence in a way that really takes away from intelligence, was arrested in California and is suspected to have been engaged in a romantic relationship with one of the key informants she was allegedly making payments to. The Southern Poverty Law Center was indicted by the Justice Department just recently, back in April, with numerous counts including wire fraud, conspiracy to submit false statements to banks, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. SPLC was known for placing mainstream conservative advocacy groups on its target list, equating organizations like Moms for Liberty with violent white supremacy groups. She played a critical role in this, heading the hate group tracking intelligence project within the SPLC. Prosecutors say that she oversaw payments of donors' money to people inside those hate groups, including one Imperial Wizard in the KKK. She was also allegedly in a romantic relationship with one of the sources who infiltrated and stole documents from the white supremacy group called National Alliance. She reportedly shared a bank account with the source, which contained $140,000 from SPLC payments. Sounds like they got this woman nailed to the wall right now. The same person has also been paid over $1 million by the SPLC, with payments dating all the way back to 2007. The days of the SPLC may be numbered, and rightly so. They were just, and the way that the media embraced them was disgusting. I mean, if they said something, it was, you were to take that at just face value and run with it, because they would never lie. Oh, no, never lie at all. Okay. David Ellison is threatening exit of California for Paramount Warner as the state seeks to block the merger. The Trump administration approved the merger of Paramount and Warner Brothers in June. That fact alone seems to be sufficient grounds for Newsom to fight against it. Variety reports, quote, David Ellison is eager to reach a swift resolution in the antitrust case filed by 12 states seeking to block the Paramount Warner Brothers Discovery merger. And in a more seemingly aimed at gaining leverage in the showdown, he's prepared to start moving Paramount out of California as soon as October, unless the merger is resolved through a settlement with the state's attorney general. Variety has confirmed that story. 12 states are against the merger. All 12 have Democrat attorneys general: Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, and Washington. ARS Technica reports that the states trying to block the deal asked Warner Brothers and Paramount not to close the merger until after the judicial process concludes. And if they do not agree, the coalition will be filing a motion for a temporary restraining order. That was an announcement made about the lawsuit. And then finally, from the editorial board at the California Post, is Bonita willing to blow up Hollywood? Paramount is one of the last legacy studios that has a physical headquarters in Hollywood proper. If that studio flees, and it's ironic, real estate is sold, what happens to Hollywood's identity and to its vitality? It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. And, it's something that Newsom may want to try to get taken care of really quick with the 2028 election just around the corner. Time for me to get out of here. Tomorrow morning, Enrico will be back with us at 7 o'clock. We'll talk about what's happening over in the Middle East. And Razorback Zach will join us, and we'll talk about the Hogs. 2 weeks of practice now. What's he seeing? We'll find out when we talk to him tomorrow at 8 o'clock here on the Dave Elswick Show. So I'll see you on the radio, 7:05 here at 1011, The Answer.
This is the Dave Elswick Show. Find him on Twitter and on Facebook at Dave Elswick Show.
Dave Elswick Show. Find us at 1011FMTheAnswer.com. Download our apps, stream us 24/7, or watch us at snc.tv. KDXE, Kamek Village, Little Rock.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. Amit Thomason. Powerful storms have again lashed the Midwest. Tornadoes, heavy rains, flash flooding. First responders and utility crews have been working to clear roads and restore power to hundreds of thousands. A 4-year-old Indiana boy died when a tree fell on his home. Indiana Governor Mike Braun says his state has been slammed this week, and it may not be over yet.
There were places down like around Newcastle, Henry County, got up to 10 inches of rain. So where it was mostly wind up here and losing power in that neck of the woods, roads were being washed out. There were a lot of water rescues. So this was quite a storm that moved across our state.
And there have been numerous evacuations as well. Wholesale prices did rise last month, but at a much slower pace than in June, a 4.7% annual increase in July, according to the Labor Department. Looks like there's going to be a high-profile job opening at the White House. The pending departure of the chief presidential spokeswoman, fueling speculation about a successor.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says she's leaving her post to spend more time raising her two small children, a boy who is 2 and